Hey, welcome, yo! Ah, that's right. This is a Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 72 for Thursday, November 11th, 20th. Is it? No, it's November 17th, Rusty. Why'd you write down the
Says
wrong
it right
date?
there on the computer.
I know, right? 2016. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace, joining the PETM podcast studio with Pregame Engineer Andrew Shoreham. What's up, dude? Nice hat.
Yeah, well, nice shirt.
Thank you.
You got the Thrashers hockey. I got the vintage Casey Kane hat. We're ready to go circa 2009.
Right, and we're going old school here. So, every once in a while,
I do got my old school Mark Barton style Tommy Joe Martin shirt on.
that thing is real pretty too.
So that's
happening.
happening.
So a lot of old school going on.
Yeah.
I've just got my Bubba Wallace hat. Bubba Wallace, man, he struck a chord with me this last week. Tell you what, with his interview and all that sort of stuff and the granny thing, and whew, might have got a little choked up watching that interview.
Well, yeah, that and Dale Jr. offering him his plane to fly up there to see her one last time, and goodness gracious.
Mm-hmm. But
NASCAR community, y'all. It's a great place.
I tell you what, we have a hell of a show today. We have a fantastic guest. We'll bring her on here in a little bit, but we're gonna have a lot of fun. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, well, yeah. This one may run longer than an hour, y'all. Just so you know.
Yep, just hang in there with us. We're gonna have some fun. First thing we're gonna do now. We're gonna get to our drinking later because we got a guest on, but we'll talk about that with our guest as always. But first thing we'll do is the car number, dude. Number 72, and I got to stop saying this, but every time the number feels like it's exponentially bigger than the last one. Like 72 is way bigger than 71. How'd we get to 72?
I don't know. I think it depends on. I think it's number specific because there are occasions where we run across a number where we're like, okay, I've seen this car go around the track, and full disclosure that we've only been fans for basically the 2000s. There's a lot of these cars that we haven't really seen before, and that's why we like to go back and dig up stuff from before we were actually fans so that we can actually learn something.
I think 72 is big too because if all of these shows are an hour long or so, that's 72 hours worth of stuff. That's
I started trying to figure it up. When we first started, we were doing like 36 minutes, and then it jumped to 42, and then it jumped to 50, and then 55, and then we've had a couple now go like 110. So that's kind of fun.
We got like 3 days worth of content. So, Anyway, car number 72. I mean, it almost goes without saying. The Professor, BP, Benny Parsons.
Yeah, when I saw that he was one of the guys in that car, I was like, oh, this is going to be a fun by the numbers segment.
12 wins in the number 72 car. Just talking about the number 72. Here's a number that can't be a number. One of the numbers that can't be a number.
I just saw it.
He's got 125 top fives in 287 races in that car, but 177 top tens and 100 DNFs. So outside of 10 races, he either finished in the top 10 or he did not finish.
Right. Yeah, did quick arithmetic there. Yeah, 287 minus 177 minus 100. Yeah, that 10 times he finished outside the top 10 and actually crossed the finish line the last lap of the race.
You're either winner or first loser, I guess. But dang, that thing's crazy. And the number 72, LG DeWitt. One thing I always try to do with these things is come up with a little story or something. It's always easy to do with the guys that are, been around for or were racing a long time ago or whatever, and you can always find some little tidbit. But everybody knows everything about Benny Parsons. So I figured I'd bring up this story that I thought was kind of cool. His 1973 championship. The last race was in Rockingham, and his improbable, as they call it, improbable return to the track after an early crash. So it was pretty much between him and the king, Richard Petty, for the title, right? Benny lapped 13 in that race, crashes out, and I mean, this would have been a day-ending, go home, watch the rest of the race from your couch kind of day. But the other teams that were around, the rest of the garage, wanted to see the underdog win. Like, the rest of the garage is rooting for one guy over Richard Petty in this situation. And so he had all these guys, and they had smaller teams and crews and less engineering prowess, I would say, just on one team or whatever back then. And so they got everybody together, and everybody was working on Benny's car to get it back out. 136 laps down, he brings it back out to finish enough laps to win the championship still, and take the 1973 championship away from the King at that point. So I thought that was a really fun story, how he won it and everything.
Given some of the discussion we're going to have later, that is extremely interesting. And an extremely random set of circumstances.
Right. So I think that's a cool story with Benny Parsons. As everybody knows, he went on to do commentary. A lot of people grew up with. I grew up as a NASCAR fan. In the early 2000s, like you said, I was done growing by then. But if you're growing
was
up,
a full-grown human. Well, my stomach continued to grow.
Well, there's some growing. It was horizontal growing, not vertical.
Right.
But growing up a NASCAR fan in the early 2000s, he's the voice that you heard at least half the season on NBC. There, got something in my eyeball. That's why I'm messing with it. But obviously, as everybody knows, passed away in 2007. Crazy that was like 9 years ago going on. So.
And he was a voice that everybody loved having on the air too.
Absolutely.
So it was a big loss for the NASCAR community. Benny Parsons was the consummate gentleman.
Yep. So we're raising our glass. Where's my beer?
Right here.
There it is. Cheers, Benny Parsons.
Benny Parsons.
Big glass. Big gulp out of the glass. I think that's the end of that one.
Supposed to have a beer there. Whoops.
No, it don't matter. It don't matter. So with that, let's
get in the DeLorean.
Let's get in the DeLorean time machine. Take it back a little bit, y'all. This was so much fun, and I'm gonna stop introing it. Here we go. All right, y'all. We want to welcome to the show Natasha Johnson. Natasha is Miss Woman North Carolina USA 2016. She's a top 10 Miss USA. She's a Miss America alum, and on top of all that, huge NASCAR fan. She runs heelsandracing.com. She's involved in the UFC. We can't be... Sherwin, how excited are we for that? This is so cool.
This is why we had to have this guest.
We had
to have Natasha.
I mean, I've been doing this podcast for a little over a year, and the people that we get to talk to, and the fact that they keep saying yes to us, keep surprising. But here she is.
For sure.
Natasha Johnson. Natasha, how you doing today?
Hi, guys. I'm so excited to be able to talk to you guys today, and just, doing great. You guys?
Well, that goes both ways. I'm doing awesome. I just got back from D.C., so I'm running around like a whirlwind, but that's always. I do that every other week, seems.
Yeah, well, one step closer to the weekend, so I'm pretty happy about that myself.
Absolutely. Natasha, before we get into anything, our fans, they demanded of us to ask the same question every time. What you drinking today?
Today, I'm actually just having some water, getting ready for some Thursday night football a little bit later.
Excellent. Well, we won't.
There's
hold you
two fun
too
games
that.
on.
That's
for
true.
Sure.
That's true. Sherwin, I see you got something there.
Yeah, I've got a local product, Sweetwater IPA.
Well done.
Pretty standard issue for me.
I don't know if I adjusted my refrigerator or whatever it is, but I'm getting some magically cold beer out of it lately. So I've just got me a Miller Lite here, but man, it's got to be, 30.1.
Just on the verge of ice.
Yeah, whatever the freezing point of Miller Lite is, it's right above that. So anyway, enough about that. Natasha, you're probably one of the most unique guests, probably the most unique guest in terms of that we've had in terms of your crossroads of pageantry, NASCAR, UFC, all these things that you're involved with. We know you're involved with Misha Tate in UFC. We know you got the heels and racing thing with NASCAR, and obviously been doing pageantry your whole life. Tell us about how those things sort of came together, where where that came from, and how you got to where you are today.
It is a pretty interesting mix. A lot of people seem confused when I tell them a little bit of everything I do. Kind of a walking contradiction in a way, but it was funny actually when I was doing Miss Oklahoma for Miss USA in I think it was 2009. My trainer at that time was a Strike Force fighter, where Misha Tate, she comes from Strike Force. So I was training with him and a few other fighters at the time. And then you fast forward to, now we have Misha Tate, who won the championship, the UFC championship back in March against Holly Holm. And my trainer at that point back for Oklahoma was actually her sparring partner for that fight because he's a southpaw. Wow. So They're all good friends because they all fought together. So you have the UFC and pageant connection there. And then, of course, bring it around to racing here with KHI management with Kevin Harvick. And all of those guys actually manage Misha Tate, Cowboy Cerrone, a few of the other guys with UFC. So there's your little kind of weird connection there with all three of those. So it's been kind of funny. I'm like, hey, have you met Travis yet? Hey, have you met this person yet? And it's just funny. I never dreamt that any of those three things would ever connect. And here they kind of just thrive together.
Well, that's really cool. And the KHI thing, yeah, that's that I think has really connected a lot of fans because there's a lot of crossover between UFC and NASCAR fans as well, and I think that really helps it out. And Misha Tate obviously has a big following just because of all that. Have you got to meet Kevin Harvick before?
I don't. Yes, actually I have. I was at an event earlier this year they had a special event for the All-Star race. Before the All-Star race weekend, They had a special New Era sponsor kind of event, and Kevin was there, and a few other of the drivers were there as well. So he's not one of the people that I know very well personally, but a lot of his management team I do.
I know I really took a big interest in KHI when they got out of racing cars and got into managing people, and when they got Cowboy and Misha and Jake Owen. And I can't remember the name of the golfer off the top of my head, but they have I think 7 or 10 folks right now, and it's a great mix of different kind of talent, which means it's a lot of fun to pay attention to what they're doing.
And under kind of a similar culture type of thing, if that makes sense.
It feels like NASCAR and MMA meld quite well.
Sure.
They really do, and it's kind of funny too because they even have, I think, I don't know how old he is now, but I think when they signed him, he was like 12 years old. Some kind of skateboarder kid too, I think, out of California. So they have really quite a mix of everybody and all different kinds of, whether that's music, sports, entertainment. I've really liked my UFC and my NASCAR. I mean, what was it, a few years back when I think it was Jeff Gordon and I don't know if it was Jeff Burton, who it was. Well, the fist fights on the backstretch at Texas.
Yeah, that was Jeff Burton and Jeff Gordon.
The Jeffs.
They wrecked under caution.
I like my UFC with my NASCAR. That's always makes it a little bit more entertaining.
I like it when Cowboy Cerrone shows up at the racetrack. That always ends up being fun somehow or another. They just KHI just picked up Harrison Burton, I believe, Jeff Burton's oldest son.
Oh, cool! Wow.
So that'll be
I know they do. I know Jeff Burton was on there too. Previously, that makes sense if they've picked up his son for sure. So
I'm curious about the training aspect of it. So you're training with UFC trainers and UFC fighters. What's the big, I would say, crossover between like what they train for and what you're training for, and what that looks like?
A lot of what I do with them that I really enjoy is the actual sparring. So we do a lot of pad work.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm doing a lot of different boxing combos with them, a little bit of kicking. Anything I got my wraps on. I have my punching gloves, boxing gloves on and everything. So we're really kind of going through those combinations that you'll see sometimes with the UFC open workouts that they do. A lot of those just kind of those drills, and really where it has helped me, which I find that also kind of relates with pageants, NASCAR, and with the UFC, is just that the mental strength that it builds up and the focus, because obviously if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, you're going to get hit in the face, which doesn't work very well when you're about to do a pageant. So I have been hit in the face before. It was kind of funny.
Well, that's what the motto of the Navy, right, is everybody needs to get hit in the face so they know how to react next.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, it was one of those moments where I just kind of stopped and looked around like, did anybody see that? I hope not.
All right, well, why don't we move it? So I identified 3 fights I thought we should talk about because I don't think we get enough time to do the whole card and do the other things that we want to do. So let's start with the Misha Tate loss and subsequent retirement and her basically proclamation to her corner that she didn't feel strongly enough about what she was doing to keep going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was kind of a big surprise for me. When she said it, I think my jaw kind of dropped. Probably with a lot of other people, like, did that just
For sure.
happen? And, I think a lot of people are also wondering, okay, will that actually stick? I know Misha's a very competitive individual, and that, just for someone, even with my pageants, that's nothing on that kind of level of things, but it's even hard for me to stop competing. So with something on that level, it just makes you wonder, okay, well, a few months from now when she's had a little bit of a break, will she feel like coming back and training and doing this again, especially, her boyfriend's in the UFC and all of that. I don't know how she can really escape not being a part of that.
Yeah, for sure. I think I was surprised, but you know what? The one thing about Misha Tate is she's got a really good head on her shoulders. I don't know if you've listened to her podcast or not, but she's really impressed me with her ability to create a lone podcast when she's the only one there talking and generate content. And then when she has a guest, she does a really great job with the interview and bringing out good responses and stuff. So I think she's got a future in entertainment, and that could be, she's already maybe had one foot out the door.
Right. And I've always really admired about Misha. She's just seems very down to earth. It's obvious that she works hard, but she's also very humble with all of that. And so I think a lot of people would definitely miss her if she does officially retire and does not come back. But I definitely wish her well with anything that she does. I think she'd be great at anything. She's just that kind of person.
I really like your tie-in there with the pageantry stuff, just saying that, you've been a part of it your whole life. The competition, the drive there, and to see if that's going to, initiate her to come back or anything. But I like that, just both being competition and being in that competition. We know, in NASCAR how competitors are and stuff. We got Tony Stewart who's retiring this year, but he's going to be in cars starting probably on Monday morning.
Right.
Right. Exactly. And, even with those guys, even if they stop racing within, just the NASCAR industry itself, especially with Tony, and then, I have a connection with Casey Kane and Casey Kane Racing. I used to be work with a sponsor for them.
Oh, cool.
A lot of those guys, they really, they love their dirt racing, and it's something that really seems to make them happy. So I don't think that we'll see the end of Tony racing, period, but probably just that transitioning back into where they kind of first started, and where obviously they own their own dirt teams, so I'm sure we'll see them involved with that a little bit more.
So you triggered both me and Sherwin kind of raising our eyebrows there. We've been unabashedly, because we always call ourselves a fan podcast. One of the things we want to do is not be media and report the news, but just have two guys who talk about NASCAR a lot and just record ourselves and see what happens. But Sherwin is currently wearing a Casey Kane hat.
How are you?
Yeah, and we're both fans of Casey, so that's a big deal to us. Have you met Casey before?
I do. I have, yes. I actually am currently, that's why I've been kind of busy this week. I'm working on the redesign of their official online store for his mom.
Man.
So, yeah, and that's where my jewelry, my Hills and Racing Custom Designs actually ties in. That's a jewelry line that is actually from race car parts. And a lot of what I do is actually involved with Casey Kane and Casey Kane Racing and the parts off of those sprint cars.
That is awesome. I had no idea. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad you're surprising us with that. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's skip forward to Tyrone Woodley and Wonderboy Thompson. What did you think about that announcement that Woodley won, and then they're like, "Nope, just kidding."
That was, my reaction on that. If we're going to relate it back to pageants too, everyone pretty much knows about that whole thing with Steve Harvey, how he announced the wrong person.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, this is not happening right now. The faces, I can't help but laugh. Like, you feel bad for the guy because, he thought he had won, but it was just wow. That's all I can really say to it. It was a pretty crazy moment. I have never, in all the years I've watched UFC, I've never seen something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Us either. And I don't know, over the course of the last 10 years, we've probably watched 20 or 30 cards. of the pay-per-view ones.
Yeah, the pay-per-view.
I'd say
all the free ones.
Yeah, definitely all the free ones for sure. But that was a weird moment. But we have the ultimate in the fight. The surgeon is, I think, what we should call him with the accuracy of his strikes. If you want to watch 8 minutes with a minute of timeout of the best boxing I think MMA's ever seen, it's McGregor versus Alvarez.
Yes, Conor McGregor. Everybody knows I am a huge Conor McGregor fan, which is kind of funny because in the beginning I really did not like him very well. But the more I've listened to him, the more the interviews that I've watched, with him, with training for pageants, I have to spend a lot of time at the gym, so I get bored. So like you said, it's very entertaining to watch him fight. So I've gotten on YouTube while I've been on a treadmill or something and just watched those videos to distract myself. And just hearing the guy talk is just great. And did you guys get a chance to see the press conference, the pre-fight press conference when he picked up the chair?
Yes, I did. I watched it after the fact. I didn't see it live, but yeah, I mean, he obviously, and forgive me this synonymous use of pageantry, but he understands the pageantry that is the lead into a UFC fight and how to sell pay-per-views.
Yeah,
exactly. That was it's just entertaining. I don't know what else to say other than it's entertaining. And the fact that he backs it up is just incredible.
Exactly. For me, that was Bisping. Probably the first 5 years Bisping was involved in UFC, I was like, who the hell is this guy? I hate this guy.
Yeah.
And then something turned. He got that super crazy
swagger,
dynamo punch from Hendo.
Yeah.
And got knocked out cold, and then all of a sudden he learned how to box or something. I don't know. I mean, now he's awesome, and he's fun.
And it's funny, Conor McGregor is one of those people that you hate and love him. I think a lot of people do, but he's right. He's really helping people like him, Misha Tate. Ronda Rousey. She's about to fight here in December.
That's right.
That's definitely helped drive this sport in a very positive direction. And as long as they're fighting, I will definitely be watching.
100%.
Switching gears a little bit, can you take us behind the scenes a little bit in the whole pageantry, the competitions, the stuff leading up to it? What happens, while you're on stage and stuff? I'm really curious there. We see the pageants on TV. We'll see Miss America, or we'll see some TLC documentary with toddlers or something, and you're like, well, that's kind of weird. But so it's like I'd really like to know, because it really ties into stuff that I like, competition between people like that, and training ahead of that and that sort of stuff. So curious what the behind the scenes is.
Behind the scenes of that's I know I keep bringing it back to it, but again, that's kind of where I've been drawn into the UFC, and then also with the racing. You think of the NASCAR drivers where they have to go through their media training and everything that they have to do to prepare for, their media interviews. Well, we have to do something similar to that with our interview process of the pageants. And then just, backstage, it's a lot of, while we don't have to make a certain weight like UFC fighters do, a lot of the process is still the same of training and getting in shape for, you having to be on a stage, modeling in front of, thousands of people in a bikini. It's not the most fun thing to do. So you kind of want to be in the best shape that you can be. But for the most part, I've been very thankful to have we call them sister queens that I've had this year with our teens and our Miss and some of our younger girls. And, for the most part, most of the girls are really nice. They're very involved in their community. They have that competitive edge. We're just out there, I guess, doing our thing. And I used to play sports, so that's part of where my competitive drive comes from. But I don't know. I can't obviously play volleyball or basketball anymore, so maybe this is where you go when you're washed up in sports. I'm not sure.
Do you have a funny behind-the-scenes story, something that happened to you? You said you got hit in the face before.
Yes. Oh, well, actually, this is not really behind the scene. It was in front of everybody at state this year. in January when I was crowned at our North Carolina state pageant before going to Miss United States in August. I think I was in an evening gown. We had to step down off these really absurdly large gap stairs. And I definitely tripped and fell in front of everybody, in front of the judges, everybody. It was one of those Miss Congeniality movie moments where everybody relates. They relate to that movie where she's like, "Oh, I've already done that." Well, that was me. And so the only thing you could do is smile and laugh, and the whole audience stood up and cheered for me. So that was a good feeling.
That's a good, bad, good moment, I guess.
Right?
It was. And, once I went to Miss United States, I really, I'm like, hey, I've already tripped. Can't do it again. Probably. Hopefully.
Well, not for the first time.
Lightning don't strike twice.
I mean, I've handled it before, so I'm all good if it happens again. So, that was my shining moment. And actually, funny enough, Brian Scott's wife, Whitney, she was one of my judges. So,
oh wow, that ties it in.
That ties back to NASCAR, so she got to see the whole thing.
What a tight knit group! This is crazy.
For sure. Now, so this is in no attempt to be demeaning at any level at all, but I noticed in some of the pictures you post, you're typically one of the shorter girls in the picture. Did having to wear taller heels play a role in that trip?
Well, we all pretty much wear the same heels, it seems, but they were like 6-inch heels, so it probably definitely factored.
Oh my goodness,
that is crazy.
Yeah, it took a lot of practice. I would walk in those every day, and I'm still not that great at walking in heels, but that's where my name, Hills and Racing, comes from. Obviously the connection of the racing and hills with pageants, so just need to get better at walking in them.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to tie that in because of your website and so forth.
So we got some NASCAR questions for you. Our first one comes, from one of the fans of the podcast, and he's been around for a while. We want to thank him for the question. NASCAR Behind the Wall at NASCAR BTW. He asks, will fans embrace Jimmy winning his 7th championship? What do you think?
I really think that this year, I know in the past they haven't. I think this year they will. And the main reason why I think that is because with Jimmy being the only Hendrick driver in that top 4, and then of course everything that's happened with Dale Earnhardt Jr. this year, I think people are, kind of just rooting for that Hendrick team as a whole. I feel like Junior Nation might be behind him a little bit more since their driver's out. That's at least what I've kind of seen online and across things. So I think people will be more embraceful of that, and especially to, people didn't seem to be that big of a fan. I like Kyle Busch, but I know many people weren't a fan of the whole part-time racing last year and him winning the championship. So people seem to like people not repeating. So I think they probably don't want to see him win.
Well, Kyle's pretty polarizing, or at least he has been up until maybe the last year or two.
Mm-hmm.
What was the movie? Was it Old School, where he just sort of blacked out for a second, busted out this answer, and the other guy was like, "I have nothing."
Oh yeah, it was the debate
else to say.
James Carville.
I feel the same. I'm like, that's exactly what my answer was too.
You nailed it.
Yeah. I mean, with where Kyle Busch is, as you said, polarizing with the fact that they've got a couple drivers in there with what's going on at Hendrick and stuff. I totally agree. I think people are embracing. I know I am.
I think people are ready for number 7.
Well, and it shows yet another style of chase. Like if Jimmy wins this one, then he just wins at every type of chase that we can throw out. I mean, every type of chase.
Yeah, well, not only that, but he tied Dale Earnhardt Sr. this year in wins.
Yeah.
And then surpassed him. So it's like we don't even really have to have the discussion, is he a better race car driver than Dale Earnhardt Sr.? Once he wins the 7th championship, that's kind of in the hand. I mean, in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And we've got some conversation coming up later about that.
Yep. Natasha, who's your pick for Sunday?
My pick for Sunday, with watching Phoenix last week, I really don't think, it's hard for me to pick somebody. I would definitely be happy with, I like Kyle Busch. I'd be happy with Jimmy as well. But I don't think you can count anybody out. You kind of have, I feel like Carl Edwards has kind of been like that sleeper a little bit this year. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Logano is always a factor. But, you had to watch Kyle Busch last week where this is, this kind of shows you how well he's doing when they act like he's going to just fail at everything because he's running 11th at Phoenix, and then watch him come back to almost win that race. So I don't think you can count in. I say all of that to say I don't think you really count anybody out. So I don't really know if I have a specific pick, but I don't know. I'll probably just pick Casey Kane. Go that route. That's a safe choice.
We can get behind that.
You're just playing to our feelings now.
Hey, he's been fast.
He has been fast. We said a couple weeks ago something like if there were 80 races in this season, then Casey Kane's getting into his groove right now.
Yeah.
Too bad we can't have it. Okay, so tell us. Let's see. One thing we keep talking about this heelsandracing.com. Tell us about that and what you're doing over there.
With Heels and Racing just kind of became that thing on Twitter where I would go to the racetrack and I'd meet people in the garage and be like, "Oh, you're Heels and Racing? Oh, big fan. Nice to meet you." And it's kind of funny how it kind of took on a thing of its own. So from that, I started just kind of branded the Heels and Racing thing. And actually, I've done so much merchandising with NASCAR, with Casey Kane, with all these people that there just really is not much out there for female fans. And so I wanted to create something that helped connect fans to the sport better. And with that, what I've taken was just, race car parts and made it into something that's fashionable and on trend and kind of a jewelry thing where race fans can wear, you might not be able to wear your Dale Jr. hat to work, you can wear a pair of earrings or something. So that's kind of where the Heels and Racing comes from, something that's an online deal. We also sell Casey Kane specific pieces on his online store, the CaseyKaneStore.com. And I can customize anything, and that's pretty much what it is. It's race car parts made into jewelry.
So I saw on there, I went on there earlier, and I was scrolling down. I was like, "This is so cool! Look at all this stuff!" And I stopped, just dead in my tracks, and I saw a spark plug necklace, and I said, "I don't know how I, as a dude, can just run around wearing a necklace, but I really want that."
That and a lot of people have a shock piston necklace on there.
Oh yeah,
they're incredibly light, and you put some crystals on them, and it's kind of funny. They look like an actual piece of jewelry.
I would hope and say that it is an actual piece of jewelry. Doggone it.
Yeah.
So my wife, the Frizz 11, she knows what she's getting.
Right. I'm
just gonna buy you all this
race
stuff.
part jewelry for Christmas.
Whether you like it or not, I'm gonna like you in it. You know what? One question we always ask every person that we have on. Well, the first thing we always ask them what they're drinking, but the last question we always ask is if you could change one thing in NASCAR, and that could be whether we're trying to put butts in the seats or eyes on the TV or just something you'd like to see more as a fan at the track, on TV, whatever it is. What would that be?
With NASCAR, there's so many things I really like about NASCAR. I like that it's definitely a sport that's more accessible versus something like the NFL, where you can actually go, down to the pits, to the garage. You can actually be there, game day or whatever, and actually be, around these athletes. The number one complaint I feel like I see by most fans is the way they are doing the television broadcasting. And by that, I mean the networks that they're putting it on. I think people were able to watch racing a lot more when it was on your regular NBCs, your regular Fox, whatever it might be. And now that they've switched it a lot to channels like NBC Sports Network and different things like that, that a lot of fans that might not have access to those special cable packages, they can't watch. So I think the ratings for NASCAR could probably go up, and then just, fans would be more happy because they'd be able to actually watch these races and cheer on their drivers and be more present in the sport. That would be the thing that I would like to be changed. I noticed this year there's a lot more races on NBC Sports Network and some of these other networks that people don't have access to.
I love how you brought that full circle, too, saying that NASCAR is such an accessible sport. Let's make sure we make it more accessible to people and not less. Great answer. I love that.
Thanks.
Natasha, what's next on your plate? So you've just wrapped up Miss Woman North Carolina USA 2016. What are you working on now, and what you up to?
I just have a few of these projects. I kind of mentioned, I'm doing the web redesign for Casey's store, and a few projects with that. Come January, I'll be crowning a new North Carolina representative for Miss United States, and then February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, so I actually sit on a government committee with the city of Charlotte, North Carolina. So we are in the process of planning all of our events for February. I speak a lot in high schools to students in their health classes about dating violence and warning signs and a lot of things like that. So that's something that we're really focusing on. My family, we have a nonprofit foundation with one word. So between the pageantry, the racing, philanthropy, nonprofit, UFC, that's kind of everything I always have going on.
That's right. And coming on podcasts with a bunch of losers.
No, not at all. We can all nerd out together. I love it.
That's right. Well, tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter, online, where they can find you, and anything else you want to promote for us.
They can find me online. I'm mostly on Instagram and Twitter, and that's just Hills and Racing, HEELS, and that's Hills as in high heels and not the Tar Heels, which I get asked about a lot. So Hills and Racing, those would probably be the best avenues to find me. We have our websites, NatashaRay.com, hillsandracing.com with one word.org. Those are the websites that a lot of our updates get posted on. So I'd love for anybody to send me a message, say hello, talk racing, talk UFC, whatever it is you want to know behind the scenes, want to know more about how I always trip in hills on stages in front of thousands of people. Let's just have that chat.
That's great. Well, self-deprecating humor is something we specialize in, too.
Live on it. So.
Well, we want to thank you for joining in on the podcast. I mean, we've had you on for 30 minutes. That's probably longer than even Sherwin told you we might do, but this has been a blast. Absolutely love it and very much appreciate it. We're very humbled to have folks agree to come on here and talk with us and BS for a little while. So thank you so much, Natasha.
No, thank you so much for even thinking to have me. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We really enjoyed it.
All right, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right, have a great night. Hey, who dat? Go Saints.
Oh, no, you're killing us. She had to drop that in on us, huh?
Yeah, no kidding. With the who dat, seriously? How's some hashtag rise up?
That's right. Yeah, we dat, right?
Yeah, we dat so far.
Man. Yeah. But what can I say? Other than that was awesome.
Fantastic, yes.
You know, we talked about it in the pre-show. And we were talking about racing IQ, and you just talk to somebody for a little bit. I think George Carlin had a good joke about it. Like, you talk to them for a little while, and you can be like, they're full of poop. Right?
Yeah.
But
stupid, full of poop, or effing nuts.
Right. She's
Natasha
none of those.
is none of those.
And quite the opposite. You start talking to her in the first 5 minutes, you're like, oh yeah, she's racing chops. She's got this. I don't have to worry about nothing. She carries her own. So that was really cool. Racing IQ is very high, well into the 130s.
Yeah, absolutely. Racing IQ well into the second standard deviation on the good side of the Racing IQ line. That was a lot of fun. She really knew her stuff. Obviously, been exposed to a lot of things. Very cool.
Very cool. So hopefully we didn't run her off, and she'll be happy to join us again sometime later. But either way, so a funny story while we were starting this thing, apparently my sister had a B&E, breaking and entering.
Straight up committed a felony. Yeah, while we're doing the podcast.
We're doing the podcast.
And announced it on the Periscope. So, we have evidence. Stephanie, you're getting charged with breaking and entering.
Yeah, it's over
Especially
now.
since you said cups and you ran off with glasses.
Right.
These
weren't solo cups or nothing. She ran off with 2 of my beer glasses. She just moved in. My sister just moved in a few doors down from me in the neighborhood behind us, and she apparently she called me while we were doing the podcast, and I totally screened the call because I was in the middle of the podcast.
That's a no.
And then she just pretty much announced on the Periscope, I'm going to come over and steal some of your glasses and
cups.
The cups. And she stole my beer glasses right out of my pantry.
I thought she was going to take some of those like Thrasher semi-souvenir type things. She runs off with 2 high quality
beer glasses. Yeah. One of them's like Ballast Point or something.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. You better bring that back.
Yeah.
You can take the
immediately.
Yeah.
And what in the hell was that weird ass drink you made?
Oh, I don't know
like
what she was
vodka
making. Yeah, there
and
was
some kind of opaque, citrusy looking deal, and some Malibu rum. What the hell you got going on over there, Steph?
Drinking with. Hey, what you drinking? Speaking of what you doing, something. What you got a box of something over there, Sherman? What's that box of?
You damn right. Okay, so we had a care package arrive last week that I managed to forget.
Uh-oh.
But the lovely Ms. Marcette Dunham sent us a care package. A happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, look at that. It's got a turkey on it and everything.
Care package.
That is so cool.
Of cookies.
I love some damn cookies, man.
So we're probably maybe not going to eat jelly beans.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be the cookie closeout challenge tonight.
Yeah, and it's going to, there'll be a lot of sound, this kind of stuff going on. So we got cookies for the closeout.
That's awesome. How cool. I hadn't even looked in here yet. Oh, man. These are great. They're frosted. Oh, and they're soft.
Yeah.
Oh, Rusty's going to like him some cookies. Thank you so much, Marcette. Those are so cool. I love it. And I love the turkey on the front, the happy Thanksgiving. I might cry a little bit on the show.
Yep, absolutely. And that's on Twitter. Her handle is at all lowercase SETTE. Big friend of the podcast.
Very cool. Thank you so much. That's so cool. I love it, dude. It's time to tear it down. You ready?
Oh, I heard the
noise. You heard the noise. It's time to do it. This is this isn't the last time. This is the last time that we're going to gas it up. But this is the second to last time, penultimate time this year that we get to tear it down.
Everybody's favorite word, and they'd have no idea what it actually means.
Right?
Yeah. Penultimate, tearing it down.
The second to last. All right, here we go. How about that race?
Yeah.
But, I mean, really, how about Matt Kenseth? Jesus.
Yeah, dude can't
catch a break.
He can't buy a vowel in the last couple of years. Just doesn't have it.
Did you feel bad? Like, I felt genuinely, I was like, oh, that ain't right.
Well, I felt bad because it was straight up a racing deal.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like some a-hole decided to take another potential a-hole out. It was racing happened, and Kenseth got screwed. Kenseth
wanted the fast line. He goes down. He was cleared by a spotter, but Bowman comes up quick, but also... Kyle is kind of he's Bowman comes up quick because he's trying to block Kyle because Kyle's coming up quick. Like you said, racing deal. When there's that many people involved and that many chain of events, that's a racing deal. And when he got taken out, I was just going, oh no, oh my gosh. So I was somewhat upset for Kenseth, and I'm not a fan or anything. I just it's.
Well, like, I didn't like the whole situation, especially as many times I've gone back and watched it, and as many opinions as I've read and listened to, and all these, especially like Door Bumper Clear, the way those guys talked about how on the first 10 laps, the high side was definitely the fastest, and you should totally roll the center. Like the fact that he chose to go down that was like
surprising.
Why'd you do that, man? You didn't need to do that.
Maybe trying to block Kyle.
But I mean, I'm not trying to pick on Matt. Like, he was cleared, and that's part of that whole spotter-driver relationship. And it just, damn, man, we'd have liked to have seen what the race would have been to race the next 2 laps with Bowman on the inside, because Bowman had such a good car, and that kid was fixing to win a race in the most, the strangest way possible.
Unlikely scenario.
That's what I was trying to think of. An unlikely scenario of being a fill-in driver in a really good car and showcasing your talent and all of those things. Like, holy cow. So, it definitely sucked for Kenseth. It changed the perspective of the race significantly after we had raced for 298 laps or whatever.
Yeah. So we've got a question from Travis Campbell at TravisC_48. Do you think the SHR switch to Ford will cause a slight drop in performance in the first few races next year?
Yeah, I don't know how it couldn't. I mean, I think it's going to be a significant transfer of information technology and learning how to get up to speed, because they're going to build their own chassis. They're going to be importing Roush motors that are going to have a very different horsepower profile, and that's all related to how the chassis performs. Those things are all, very car specific, and they're tuned that way. They're tuned to the driver as well. So they're going to have to learn how Kevin Harvick likes to put the gas down, how Kurt Busch likes to put the gas down, yada, yada, yada. Clint Bowyer and Danica, they're going to have to learn what a Roush motor does when those guys put their foot on the gas, and they're going to have to learn how they like their brakes to perform, because those are going to be different parts too. So, yes, absolutely, I think they're going to slow down a little bit in the early part of the year.
How long do you think it'll take for Kevin Harvick to win a race?
I think Kevin Harvick will have won a race before we get to Daytona. The second one
before Daytona. Hell,
I mean that was a pun type joke.
Yeah,
I think he might win one of the qualifier races. He's such a good plate racer. Those races aren't going to matter.
So your over under is going to be what race is your over under? How about that?
So let's call it Dover.
Okay. Because I'm saying he wins one of the first 5 races.
Wow, I like it. Should we bet some really cool bottle of whiskey on that?
Yes, obviously.
Okay. Sweet.
Somebody write it down.
We're going to go to Bristol, and when we do the Bristol show in the spring from the Bristol campground,
one of us will
have had to buy a bottle of whiskey, and we will share with you the winner then.
Perfect. Sounds good. Great question, by the way. Thank you for that. Pat Cleary at PatWolf13, he's asking us, who's most disappointed in their chase performance so far?
Martin Truex Jr.
That's a great answer. Yeah, that's a great answer, because he was out so early and won. And he had the mo. That's what everybody talks about. You got to have the mo, the momentum going into the chase. And he had that. He had everything going in, and it just, kind of went that way. I mean, unfortunate. But
Fart noise.
Yeah. So, what can you say? That's a great answer.
Super fast, not at the right time.
Yep. It's hard to say disappointed, across the whole chase. I think you're exactly right with the 78. I would say that Kenseth, it probably stings the most right now in terms of he won in regulation, by the way.
No kidding.
And so that hurts. I think Hamlin expected a lot better postseason as well, and deservedly so. I think other than speeding somewhere.
Well, and so the more I read, the more it felt like Hamlin performed really well at the tracks that we expect him to, but he did not perform well at the tracks that we didn't expect him to. And that's the thing in the chase is you have to perform well at a track that we don't think you're going to win.
Yeah,
like a track that say, okay, so Joey's not going to win at Phoenix. Well, he won. Okay, so that flipped the script a little bit. Kenseth doesn't feel like he's going to win at Martinsville. Had a great run. Those kinds of things. You have to do that every segment of the chase. Like, in reality is, I mean, as easy it is to say, oh, you just win every segment, and then you win the last race, and you just win the chase. Well, I mean, sometimes that's what happens, though. We've seen that happen. We've seen Tony do that. And we've seen Carl have the best performance he could possibly have and yet not win. Because somebody won half the races in the chase and won in every segment. At that time there weren't segments. There weren't elimination segments. But still, you get the idea is that there is the playoff sort of attitude and atmosphere that you have to perform every week as opposed to we'll just build a 10-week resume, which is what Jimmy did those first 5 years. And then it was like, oh, my gosh.
Right. Doesn't matter what happens.
Now we have this little bit different thing, and then he wins another one, and then we institute knockout. And so this is the first time he's qualified for the –
Yep.
There's that, it's hard too.
It's hard to pick or root against him, but we'll have picks in a little bit.
Yeah. That's why I'm going to drop off there and say, we have segments later. We're going to talk about that.
Well, let's start getting to that, right? Gassing it up.
Wow.
There it is. Triple header finale weekend, all capital letters, exclamation
all
points.
Caps, man.
Yep.
I love the way they've done these triple headers with the last 3 weekends being triple headers because it allows you to just get
deep.
You know what, deep
Yep.
in some NASCAR. And we got a race Friday night, we got a race Saturday afternoon or evening or whatever, and then we got the Sunday race. And it's obviously it's a little bit of a challenge for us to juggle the football stuff around a little bit, but the last couple weeks have been pretty easy, So
away games and stuff.
Obviously,
we got our last Georgia Tech home game coming up.
That's right. Strongly looking forward to tomorrow night's truck race and seeing who can put that stuff together, and then Saturday afternoon maybe a little bit of a challenge because we've got that noon 30 game. I can't remember when the race kicks off. I think it's later, like maybe 4 something or something like that.
Yep.
Somebody's going to punch me in the face on the Periscope and say, "You liar! You don't know what the hell you're talking about." But then Sundays,
Sunday is Sunday.
Open season.
Yes, sir. 3 o'clock, 3:30, whatever it is. Homestead, which has produced great racing recently too. By the way,
it arguably has produced some of the best 1.5-mile racing that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen to Nate Ryan's podcast this week, they had the stats guru, the not Racing Reference, but motorsports analyst or motorsports analytics. It's a paywall deal, so I don't subscribe to it, but he's employed by NASCAR, so that kind of gives you a little bit of maybe it's not whatever they're targeting there. But he was talking about how each driver has a certain strength of going into what he calls a soft 1.5 miles or a soft intermediate, and this apparently Homestead is a soft intermediate because the top speed, it's related to top speed. Like Atlanta, Charlotte, Texas are considered a different thing than Chicagoland, Kansas, and Homestead because of the top end speed.
Huh.
And they've separated it out and found a statistical difference, so they decided to call them different things. But Homestead has put on a very good race for the last, call it almost 10 years since they did the reconfigure on the banking.
Yeah.
And it's a really fun race to watch. But your typical 1.5 mile guys, I think, are the ones that are going to be quick.
So here's, I don't know if I put it in your show notes or whatever, but here's one of those stats that can't be true.
Facts that can't be a fact?
Facts that can't be a fact. This will be Tony Stewart's 618th race in the Cup Series. If he has a top 10, he will have top 10'd 309 of those 618.
Exactly 50%.
Exactly half. So, just find something, man. You got to get to 50% just for the math nerd in me to have that satisfaction.
Well, and the other piece of the math nerdiness is if he wins, that would be number 50. Like a nice round.
That's a nice round. Yeah, that's
number.
Half century of wins. I mean, and 50%. Yeah, pretty much. Tony, you need to win this race.
Yeah, I want Tony to win. So that's who we're rooting for. Jesus.
No doubt.
Yes.
Rooting for. No doubt rooting for. Hey, we got a question. I love his name, Conservative Dave.
Conservative Dave.
At East County Dave, he says, any idea who the Cup title sponsor is going to be in 2017? That's one thing, we always talk about that NASCAR secrets are like the worst held secrets, but that's one of those, kind of like SHR moving to Ford, that was like,
well, they're only the
surprising.
worst kept secrets when they're positive secrets.
Yeah.
We tend to not know what the heck's going on when it's like, oh crap, we should have already known.
Yeah. So I haven't heard anything other than rumors. The latest rumor is Monster Energy, obviously one of Dale Jr.'s sponsors, but and Kyle Busch,
actually, I don't have to.
Motorsports
got to correct you there, bud.
Who was it?
No, Monster Energy is Kurt Busch and
Kurt Busch.
Kurt Busch and Kyle Busch.
Yeah, Kurt Busch.
Kurt Busch with the Monster brand and Kyle Busch with NOS.
Which one of them energy drinks is Mountain Dew? That's one of the
Pepsi,
Mountain Dew,
man.
like Code
Pepsi
Red,
Mountain Dew.
something or other with Dale. When I said it, I was like, that ain't right. Whatever, keep rolling.
It happens.
Germans bombing Pearl Harbor and all that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so having the Monster Cup series might be a little weird.
Well, I mean, it's worked in both monster trucks and in Supercross. So I think that's why people are like getting behind the momentum of the rumor. I can't imagine a company that Coke only has 17.9% interest in having enough money to sponsor NASCAR.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I mean, they did step up from Nationwide, then Xfinity now, to Cup to sponsor Kurt Busch and be on the hood. But we're talking about they went from maybe a $2 million sponsorship to maybe an $8 million sponsorship. We're talking about well into the double digits to be the title sponsor of NASCAR.
Yeah. What's it cost to be title sponsor? I mean, that's
what we'd love to know.
Yeah, right.
But it's
got to be hundreds.
I would think it is more than the cost of building a winning race car.
Sure.
And the feeling right now is if you want to be a top 10 multiple win NASCAR Cup car, you're looking at $25 to $30 million worth of sponsorship.
Yeah, yeah.
Or business to business deals.
It's got to be $100 million, right? Wouldn't you think?
I would think it would be approaching that third digit.
Yep.
I would think so.
So, anyway, who knows? The longer they talk about it, it's like a jury that's out for deliberation, right? The longer they're talking about it, the worse off or better. I don't know what's worse or better if they talk about it longer, but they've been taking. I've been reading some stuff. They've been taking pictures like with blank sponsor because they're doing 2017 pictures and promos and stuff, and they've got a blank area where they're going
to have to go digitally retrofit
insert
the title sponsor.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of teams that have already taken their 2017
yearbook photo.
Yearbook photo, like their uniform photo, and they've definitely just photoshopped out the Sprint Cup, or they did it with a uniform that doesn't have the patch on it. However, I mean it's the same thing.
Yep.
As good as these guys are at Photoshop anymore, it doesn't matter.
Yep. But Jeffrey Whitler on the Periscope just brought up a good point. Like, you're losing some sales on holiday stuff, too. Like, if you bring out Monster Energy as the title
especially
sponsor,
if it's some kind of a consumer product.
Yeah, yeah. Losing out there. The writing's on the wall, y'all. I mean, we all know that it ain't good that it's taken this long.
Well, it feels like they got lucky getting Nextel after the FCC pretty much banned public
Winston
tobacco sponsorship on TV, especially. Feels like they got lucky with Nextel. Mm-hmm. The redneck bleep, beep, in public walkie-talkie thing.
Had me one of them.
Yeah, you did.
We were roommates.
When we were roommates.
Sure, and woke up a few times.
Cuss word.
Cuss.
It's all good. I should have been up anyway. But yeah, I mean they haven't. This is only their second shot at it in 45 years of having to sell title sponsorship, and they ran for 29 years without any kind of sponsorship or whatever it was. So that was an exaggeration. 17 years. It was 72 when Winston signed up, but. Yeah, it's troubling. It's something we should talk about. Everybody should talk about. Why don't we know who the title sponsor is going to be? We know Sprint's not going to be it.
Well,
NASCAR needs to get their ish in one pile and let us know who it's going to be.
Yep. Well, with that, for the last time this year, let's do this. Oh, thank you for hanging out with us all season, dude. And we'll be back again next season with that fella. But it's time for picks. Trucks.
Holy crap! Trucks.
We got in the chase, in the championship race. Johnny Sauter, Matt Crafton, Travis Bell, Timothy Peters.
Part of me wants to say Crafton just because he's typically been really fast at these kind of tracks, but man, I'm all in on some Sauter. Give me some of that Wisconsin cheese.
I'm I'm glad you went Sauter because I wanted to go Crafton. I've always been a fan. He's been there for the whole time. He's been a guy that you can root for, and he's still going to be there next year. One of the series regulars, and he's just an awesome dude.
He's a good dude, and he's fast.
This one's from the heart. I don't even care what the mindset, because it doesn't matter, because this is any given Sunday. Any given Saturday for them, whatever.
Friday night.
Oh, yeah, it's trucks we're talking about. Friday night. Any given Friday night. I mean, shoot, it's high school football time.
Damn right.
So
hell, the state championships probably, or the semifinals is probably tomorrow night.
Probably, yeah, coming soon. So why not? Why not any one of those guys? So if it could be anyone, might as well be Crafton. Or
Cool.
might as well be Sauter for you.
Sauter. I'm
Yep.
all in on some Johnny.
Xfinity,
Yes.
I'm going to do the same thing. Xfinity, Sadler, Suarez, Allgaier, Jones.
You and I think, are very well aligned on this.
Sure.
For a lot of reasons.
So say who you going to do, and
Well, I'm going for that boy from Virginia.
yes, sir.
Eddie Sadler.
Yes, sir. Absolutely rooting for that. That's the pick from the heart. He deserves it. He's so cool. He's
He's not had a championship in any of NASCAR's top touring series. He's the most likable guy in the garage. He is arguably the most successful athlete in the garage. He played college basketball and raced. Won 3 cup races. Got a great fit there at JRM. Love his spotter. Dude's hilarious.
Yep.
Politics are tough, so we leave that alone, but that's fine.
Yep.
He's funny as hell on that podcast they do, the Door Bumper Clear.
Yep. So
I'm all in on some Elliott Sadler.
just because you say it, this is tough. Do I go Eric Jones? I'm going to go Suarez. And the reason I'm going
No, I
Suarez,
love that too.
I love that pick. Is all it is. That's another good one from the heart. I mean, Eric Jones.
Did you see that piece they did about him growing up in Mexico and all that stuff?
No, I must
Dude,
watch
you
that.
got to.
I'm gonna go watch it now.
It is fantastic.
Yeah, I bet it is.
And a couple of his sisters are kind of cute.
I don't have.
Oh, by the way.
All right. That takes us to Cup, dude.
All right.
Jimmy.
Is
Jimmy
this even,
or
are we gonna even talk?
Joey.
I mean, I can be
or
controversial. Are you
or
picking
Carl.
or am I picking?
Well, here's the thing, dude.
Who's actually allowed?
I've got it
first
on.
pick?
I've actually got on record of me picking Kyle Busch to win the championship before the Daytona 500 this year. So
Who
I
did I
have to.
pick? Do you remember?
It was somebody who is no longer in.
I think you're right.
But point is, I picked Kyle to win before, so I have to
I
pick
probably
Kyle.
picked Dale Earnhardt Jr. to get these folks fired up.
I have to pick Kyle. That's a pick I'm obligated to do at this point. I really want to pick Jimmy, but I'm picking Kyle.
All right, so here's the deal. I will pick, and I will root for one driver. But in terms of what I think is good for the sport and what I think is the best for the sport,
See if we're on the same page
for
here.
diversity perspective,
Okay.
and the person or the driver that I think really has performed the best in recent memory, call it 2.5 years, I'm going to be rooting on game day, on race day. I'm going to be rooting for Joey Logano.
Attaboy.
But I'm going to be
On the same page.
extremely happy if Jimmy wins number 7, and I'll embrace that. And we have some championship 7 stuff to kind of talk about right before we wrap up. But I'm rooting for Joey. Like, I know there's people that don't like him, and there's plenty of good reasons not to. Just like
Shoot,
with
we
all
didn't like him at some
with all
point,
the other
but-
guys. We all hated Jimmy at one point. Everybody hated
Sure.
Jimmy. He's the nicest guy in the freaking garage. There's plenty of people that hate Junior, and then they're like, "Oh, wow, he's like really smart, really good. He wins Twitter daily." If he wants to. Like,
Yep.
he just decides to win. Like, these guys are all really cool, really competitive, really talented people. So it's not like, oh, if I pick one guy to win, like all of a sudden I'm a bad person or whatever because of that. So just suspend all the hatred and the fire and all that stuff. So here's the thing.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I mean, I'm Joey Logano. I'm Team Joey Logano on Sunday.
I'm Team Jimmy, but I'm picking Kyle, and I'm not going to. Or I could be Team Carl too.
Maybe I'm not. No,
and
no.
I know you're
yeah,
not a
right.
huge Carl fan, but I've always been a Carl fan, and I like him a lot. He's been there though. I think Logano. Logano's kind of been there.
Well,
but
it's better for you and I to not to agree on all the
I'm obligated
if we're
to pick Kyle.
secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. Like, we can't agree on all those tiers because we already know that on primary we agree with. Like, we would prefer that Casey Kane was racing for this title.
Well, sure.
Everybody knows that.
Sure.
The fact that he's not is okay. Well, one of his teammates is, and he's got a chance to
Yeah.
set the kind of history that you can't just write.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's written a paragraph about the guy that tied Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty.
I think I will be rooting for, like, I'm thinking of the last lap, white flag comes around, who's in first place that I'm like, all right. I can't be upset really about any one of them. But I think Jimmy is the one who I'd be rooting for the most right now. and I will never root for him to win another championship. How about that? Just because he will have proven everything that he needs to prove to me. Not that he has to prove anything to me, but to me, he has completed his resume, his whatever you want to call it. But I'm rooting for that. I love that. Now I'm also rooting for Logano. If Logano across the finish line, I'm like, all right, this is the next phase. This is the next. This is the future of NASCAR. Carl Edwards, he's been there before. It feels like, in a way, he deserves to have some sort of comeuppance there. And Kyle, Kyle's not the future and he's not the past. He's the now.
He's definitely the now.
So
now.
He's the one to beat, kind of. So there you go. There's my analysis for it.
Well, yeah, man. All you need to know is that Kyle has amassed 38 Cup wins in what amounts to 11 or 12 years of Cup racing. And we have looked at Kyle as like this really, really good race car driver that maybe hadn't got it all sorted out between the years. In only 3 more years and only 150 more races, Jimmie Johnson has won 79 times, 41 times more than Kyle Busch.
That's crazy.
So it's so odd to me that we compartmentalize that and we throw it in the trash. That, like, Jimmy is somehow not like this really, like, we ought to all be looking around going, and this might be the best race ever.
We've talked about it on the podcast before.
I mean, we have. You and I have, but it's like, how can you not?
It needs to be, it needs to be on the big stage. Anyway, before we go too crazy and overboard, that's the picks. I love the picks. That was really hard, too.
Yeah.
By the way. Strange with Stang, dude. Ashley J. Stang, she sent us something.
Say now? I got it.
Okay, you've got it. Got it. Pull it up.
All right, so as y'all know, we do the Strange with Stang every week, and she asks us crazy-ass questions.
Ashley, don't leave us in the off-season. We're still going to be here.
You can't leave us in the off-season because
we're going to need content, too.
This thing.
We're going to need content.
All right, so here's the deal.
All right.
And then maybe she's talking about next year.
I'm usually more prepared, too, for this stuff. So I haven't heard this one yet.
Yeah, well, so you're going to hear it the first time.
Here we go.
So basically we're talking about Homestead 2018.
Okay.
Because we're going to go.
Okay.
You get arrested in Homestead, and you have to call the other person to get you out.
Okay. Well, why wouldn't you be there in the first place?
Yeah,
why would I get arrested and you're not in the jail cell?
Well, that'll be part of the discussion.
Anyway.
But so basically.
And I wouldn't have to call you. You'd know I'd be. Anyway. Sorry.
Right, exactly.
All right,
so,
still, premise.
Yeah,
keep
but
going,
I mean, it's her
Setting
deal.
It up. Yep,
it's her deal.
This is her question.
She doesn't know. It's okay. So we both have to pick what the other person got arrested for. So somehow you and I got separated in the night.
Okay.
And
yeah.
And there's 2 scenarios. It's choose your own adventure. You got arrested, and you called me to get you.
Okay.
And then the other choose your own adventure is I got arrested, and I called you. What did you get arrested for? I have to choose.
Okay.
And what did I get arrested for? You have to choose.
Okay.
So who's first?
All right, I'll go.
You're going to tell us why I got arrested.
Why you got arrested.
Yep.
And here's Sherwin won't get arrested for like just straight up bar fight, kind of like he disagrees with somebody. Sherwin's going to troll somebody, and then they're going to like get way out of hand, and then he's going to kick their ass or something, right? And so Sherwin gets arrested for fighting a Casey Kane fan over something, and he agrees with him the whole time, but the dude's just being a jackass. And so Sherwin's like, I come in and Sherwin's got like a busted lip and his hand is hurting, and I go, what'd you do, dude? I was some Casey Kane fan. I'm like, don't we agree with those guys? Well, this guy was a dumbass. That's what I've picked up Sherwin for at the clink, was to get him out of fighting with a guy he agrees with.
Ironically, in my head, I've chosen something very similar but slightly different. So if Rusty gets arrested, and because I'm not there and we don't have safety and numbers and all that stuff, what Rusty has done is overheard a conversation between a dumbass and a cop and then provided like background stand-up comedy to the situation. And the cop chose for that to be an aggressive
triggering
maneuver and decided to put him in cuffs.
That's Rusty. That's Rusty right there.
So those are the two ways that we would get arrested at the racetrack.
That was perfect. Great question. And I think both of those were very accurate.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I love it.
And there's one last thing.
Okay.
If you get arrested, I don't like where she's headed with this, Ashley. Your assumptions they're headed around a
Begging
dark
the question
path.
or something?
No, she asked me if I would tell on you if I was the one that got you out of jail.
Telling me to who? Oh, whatever.
And I'm like, no.
Oh,
I mean, bros before hoes all the way.
I would tell her. If I got arrested.
Well, that's your story to tell.
Yeah.
It's not mine.
There you go. Yeah.
And just so we're all clear on this, Rusty would definitely tell his wife he got arrested.
Oh, absolutely. She would laugh. She'd shake her head and then laugh.
Come on, man.
Really? You got arrested?
How expensive is it?
Yeah.
Not really.
Oh, it's not
we're good.
No, we'll be all right. All right, dude, let's start closing this thing out. And we've got
Give me
a
a damn
whole thing
cookie.
of cookies in here. Eat you one of them.
Yeah.
Here we go. I'm going to eat me one of these. Thank you, Marcette.
Yeah,
These
Miss
are
Marcette
awesome.
Dunham.
Marcette,
This is
I can't
me the
believe it.
cookie closeout challenge.
Cookie closeout challenge
Oh, they're
time.
soft serve, like you said.
Yeah, this looks so good.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. Dude,
What in the hell?
this is top notch. This is awesome.
is like Christmas Day stuff right here.
I don't know what to say. Marcette, you the best.
Wow.
This says buttercream, frosted, salty, caramel,
butter. I
chocolate
taste butter.
cookie. Holy but Jesus.
I taste the butter.
This is
So
awesome.
good.
Y'all,
They taste really moist, too, is the thing.
yeah, they are. Y'all know where to find us. At PETM Podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you, Natasha Johnson, for joining on the podcast. That was awesome.
And Natasha was a great guest. Really appreciate her joining us tonight.
We'll be talking to her again.
At Heels and Racing.
Let's
I'm pregame engineer Andrew Sherwin. At pregame ENG.
I'm Tailgate Mayor, Rusty Wells, at Tailgate Mayor. We're going to talk to y'all. Hey, we're doing the whole off season, y'all.
All off season.
Don't abandon.
iTunes,
We'll be
Google
there.
Play,
Whole time.
Pocket Cast, YouTube,
Thank you for joining.
Podbean.
Love you, PETM Podcast. Hey, get your sticker.
Get your sticker. DM us your good mailing address, and you can get a sticker. And they're running out, y'all, just so you know. So, like 2017, probably going to change the sticker. If you want
your
one of the
2016.
originals, the
OG.
OG stickers,
Yes, sir.
you got to get that request in immediately.
We'll talk to y'all next week.
Thumbs up.